Liberals are nervous tonight after witnessing a tsunami of red take over New York. The record-breaking attendance for Donald Trump's rally signals a turning of the tide back to Republicans after Kamala Harris's campaign picked up momentum since the ABC debate. The roars and cheers for Trump were in stark contrast to Kamala Harris's latest appearance, a TV interview with the National Association of Black Journalists, where she struggled through the questions, stumbling and mumbling, which is what we've come to expect from Kamala. Sky News host Chris Kenny blasted Harris for rolling out her tired story about her middle-class upbringing.
Now, before we wrangle, let's get into some light relief from the US. Kamala Harris spoke with the National Association of Black Journalists overnight, and among other things, she trotted out her folksy background story again. I mean, the Americans love Abraham Lincoln's log cabin backstory, and in Australia we keep hearing about Prime Minister Anthony Albanese growing up with his single mother in public housing. But Kamala Harris can't match any of that. She can't even refer to a working class background. Now, she reckons middle class is tough enough.
I grew up a middle class kid. My mother was hardworking. She raised me and my sister Maya. She saved up. And it was only by the time I was a teenager that she could afford to actually buy her first home.
Sound familiar? We've heard this stuff almost word for word previously, and no matter what the question is.
And in a surprise to everyone, including Kamala Harris, the journalist pressed her answers on guns.
Where someone can buy a lethal weapon if they've been found by a court to be a danger to themselves or others, you might just want to know.
And respectfully, we do understand that.
But you're asking
yes.
about...
I'm asking specifically about handguns, because many of those handguns aren't purchased in places.
Universal background checks apply to handguns.
Yes.
They do.
But in many instances, those handguns aren't even bought lawfully. Yes.
Which is why I also have been very adamant for years. In fact, I myself protested at a gun show probably 10, 15 years ago about the gun show loophole and why we need to close that. Because what ends up happening is that gun shows at flea markets, gun dealers are not, under existing law in the past, required to register their sales.
Kamala Harris also went on several long-winded monologues that made little sense throughout the interview.
It's a crying shame. I mean, my heart breaks for this community. You know, there were children, elementary school children, who it was school photo day. You remember what that's like? Going to school on picture day? Who were dressed up in their best, got all ready, knew what they were going to wear the night before, and had to be evacuated. Children.
And after hearing the slurring and stumbling, this commentator asked, "Is she drunk?" Kamala Harris was asked the same question about the economy as she was at the debate, and again, couldn't give a coherent answer.
Voters are better off now than they were 4 years ago. Are they better off now than they were 4 years ago?
So when we came into, well, first of all, let me just say it is good to be with the National Association of Black Journalists, and I thank you for the work you do and that your members do every day. It is very important that we ensure that this organization and your members always have the resources and the platforms to deliver the voices that must be heard. So I thank you for hosting me today. 4 years ago, when we came in during the worst unemployment since the Great Depression. We came in during the worst public health epidemic in centuries. We came in after the worst attack on our democracy since the Civil War. And a lot of it due in large part to the mismanagement by the former president as it relates to COVID and obviously January 6th.
And after yet another disappointing performance where she was forced to speak off script, Kamala Harris seemed frustrated, abruptly leaving the NABJ stage. With one commentator saying, Kamala, at the end of her interview with NABJ, she couldn't get out of there fast enough. She left frowning. And whilst Kamala Harris couldn't get off stage fast enough, Donald Trump was today enjoying a rock star reception in New York. Thousands of fans lined the streets, whilst Trump's motorcade made its way to Uniondale for the rally. And inside the stadium, it was the same story, with record-breaking crowds cheering on Donald Trump in a spine-tingling show of support. Reactions from the rally flowed onto social media, with this commentator saying, "Wow, President Trump has just walked on stage at his rally in New York. This crowd size is massive." Donald Trump spoke with conviction, reminding the crowd of the dismal state the Democrats have plunged the state into, attracting cheers from the crowd.
And so I say to the people of New York, with crime at record levels, with terrorists and criminals pouring in, and with inflation eating your hearts out, vote for Donald Trump. What the hell do you have to lose? What do you have to lose?
And with footage of Trump's huge rally flooding social media, this commentator says Liberals are very nervous. He said, "Happening now, Liberals are fearing that New York could go red after footage released of Donald Trump's absolutely mind-shattering rally in Long Island, New York right now."